right, you guys, it's episode 73 of Inner Demons, and without further ado, I'm going to get straight to it. So check it out, you guys. I just dropped a live right now, and, I basically told you guys that I'm going to try to get out episode 3 of the Mexican Mafia video that I started a couple of days ago. I put out the second episode yesterday, but I'm going to drop the third one tomorrow. It might end up being 4 episodes. I don't know yet. However, in the meantime, in between time, like I told you guys during the live, I'm going to go ahead and drop the next Inner Demons because I know some of you are waiting on the next episode. So I don't want you guys to think that I'm neglecting that again, that episode. So anyways, I'm going to get straight to it. I listened to episode 72, and at this point, I'm in Little Max. So I was moved to Little Max from the observation cell. You got to understand, I'm still not accepting of my circumstances. The county jail, they're kind of like on the fence right now as far as, how they want to classify me. They're basically keeping me pacified, leaving me in the cell, in the observation cell as a double red. However, that would end up changing over time because these idiots ended up getting caught with, rosters or a BNL that had my name on it. So at some point, my classification status just changed. They took it upon themselves because of liability issues to go ahead and classify me, as being in protective custody. Now, when I found out about it, I still continue to refuse to wear the top. I wasn't going to let them do that to me. My way of thinking at that time, and rightfully so, was that I was still in good standings. I hadn't done nothing. Had I crossed that line, had I started to cooperate or done something that, that was clearly wrong besides what I've already told you guys, talking on the phone to, my loved ones and my girl at that time about my circumstances, and her health and all that good stuff. There was nothing else, that would justify putting me in Brown in protective custody. In the Santa Clara County Jail, like I told you guys, Brown is protective custody. So, classification comes up to my cell, and at some point they tell me, you're moving to Little Max. And this wasn't something that I was just I didn't want to be around nobody. I was cool right there in the observation cell. I just wanted to be left the fuck alone. That's all I really wanted. That's all I cared about at that time. There was too much going on, with the fellas that it just happened in ADSEG. And, I had my feelers on at this time, my ear to the ground. I was trying to figure out, my next best move. Should I reach out to the Bay? Should I try to reach out to Corny and them? I couldn't. I knew that, these guys were on my mail. I knew they were on the phones. So my hands were kind of tied. At any rate, at the end of the day, no matter how much I fight with these guys, I was going to move. And they were moving me. They wanted the observation cell for somebody else. And whether I liked it or not, they were moving me to Little Max. Now, the way I looked at it is, what? They put me up there with these individuals that, they told me were up there. This guy from Fresno was just like a family guy that was from Fresno, didn't want to take a chance of going out to, one of these GP tanks and getting sliced up because he was from Fresno. And then you had this youngster that was, had an identity crisis. So I told you guys all about that. They went ahead and they facilitated the move. So I'm up there in Little Max now. And, I'm not embracing my status. I'm not embracing how they got me classified. There's nothing I can do. If the gates pop, it's on. My thing is, if I can get out and get somebody, if I can touch somebody, that's what I'm going to do. But in the meantime, in between time, all I did really at that point is just focus on fighting my case. And, that's all I could do. My case at that point was in the California Supreme Court, or it was in the process. And again, it's a lengthy process. It could take up to a year. So that time was idle time. It was just, there was nothing going on in the case. We weren't really filing any motions. It pretty much stagnated everything. I'm just there waiting for, the California Supreme Court to rule one way or the other. So, in the meantime, I'm still looking at my case, though. I'm still combing through the transcripts. And, like I said before, when you catch a case like this, or any kind of case for that matter, you know your case better than anybody. And you're the only one that's going to go that extra mile to fight your case, to really get into the nuts and bolts of it, and look for mistakes, or look for errors in the police reports, things that you can use, technicalities, things like that. So that's what I was doing. I'm combing through all that stuff. I'm up there in Little Max. But again, I was up there, and in my mind, it didn't matter how they classified me. That didn't change me. It didn't mean I was gonna start cell soldiering off my bars. I was gonna start acting like a J-cat. It didn't mean I was gonna start sleeping all day, start snorting medication, and just doing all this dumb shit that half these dudes do when they walk away or when they drop out. Again, my thing was, man, this is all bullshit. I haven't done nothing, that warrants being in Little Max. If some of you feel like just me talking on the phone, me trying to keep my girl pacified at that time, if that warranted it, then you know what? I'll take it. And I was willing to take what I had coming. And you guys are going to see that, as I go on in this story. So I'm up in Little Max, and these guys are they're sleeping all fucking day. They sleep all day. They're all on medication. My cell was the only cell that, the lights were on, it suited and booted. It was like I was still active, and I was. I'm still, that mindset never changed. So I'm up there doing my thing. I'm back there with these cats, and there was other individuals that would come and go. But I told you guys at one point, this youngster that had an identity crisis ended up getting into an argument with this other dude. One of them wanted to watch cartoons, the other one wanted to watch some dumb shit. And I wouldn't be on the tier socializing with these dudes. Obviously I needed to communicate with them on some level. I was the shower cleaner on that tier. And, if they were going to go to the shower or something, I'd, hey, such and such, are you going to shower? Because I'm next, or whatever, things like that. But I wasn't just, being social like that. I kind of stayed in my own space. I was fighting a serious case, and that's the way I kept it. But one day, this youngster gets into a verbal fist fight with my other neighbor, and they start going at each other, and they're just yelling off the bars. And at one point, I intervene. I tell the youngster to kick back. Actually, I try to tell the other dude, let him watch cartoons. If that's what he wants to do, let him watch cartoons. So, I'm not going to repeat the whole part again, but I ran him off the tier using psychological warfare. I knew, his address from just being back there with him, passing stuff. Sometimes he might pass something to me. He might pass a book or something. He might have left an envelope in the book, and his address might have been on there. Or just, the CO walking by my cell with his mail, and I could see the address, or somehow, some way. I don't remember exactly how I got it, but I had the address. So, I told you guys how I got on the phone and acted like I was calling somebody on the streets to go to his house to basically kill everybody at his house. And it was just all bullshit. I picked up the phone and I wasn't even talking to nobody, but I knew he was listening. So, and I knew what was going to happen. I was going to hang the phone up, and he was going to pull a nutty. He was going to start tripping out, thinking that there's people on the way over there to knock everybody in the house down, when in actuality, there was nothing like that happening. I was just using psychological warfare to run this cat off the tier, and it worked. So he gets up out of there. Now, after he leaves, they bring in another individual. This guy was a Norteño that basically, he gets out of the youth authority. He was a YA baby. He got out, and he's childhood friends with this individual. I believe his name was David Owens. And they're friends, and next thing you know, this dude ends up in a relationship with his mom. And that's an awkward situation. For one, that dude's he's out of pocket doing that. But this guy, obviously he took it personal, and that's his boy, and now his boy is sleeping with his mom. So he straps up, he goes to this guy's house, he catches him, he ends up killing the dude, and he would end up getting caught up for it at some point. So it's a red on red killing. He comes to the county jail. Classification, they're looking at it as, this dude that you killed was he was hermano. He was an NR member. You're in trouble. You're just a norteño. So we're going to go ahead and lock you up. We're going to put you in protective custody. Now, the way he's thinking, he's kind of like-minded like me. He doesn't want to be in protective custody. He wasn't going as far as I was going, as far as like fighting back, telling them that he wouldn't wear the top. He actually put the top on. He came back there wearing the top with all his property, but he, mentally he didn't want to be in that position. And mentally, he was like, you know what? I don't want to go to prison for the rest of my life and be on an S&Y around this class of people. That's not how I want to spend the rest of my life. I'd rather catch a death penalty case than to go to prison on that status. And when he came back there, obviously I'm going through my shit. We start communicating. I kind of find out his position or his circumstances. He finds out mine. We start kicking things around, and we were both of the same mindset that, whatever we can do to catch a case, that's what we're gonna do. A case that we'll get the death penalty. You know what I mean? And honestly, not really knowing him, I kind of thought he was just blowing some hot air, that he was just talking. Me myself, I was serious about it. But you guys got to understand, my case was in the California Supreme Court. I was like, you know what? If I get shot down, fuck it. I'm gonna go for broke. I'm gonna do whatever I got to do, or I'll just spend the rest of my life in the shoot program. But I'm not hitting no S&Y. I don't want to deal with all that. And there's a lot of homies that knew me just the way I was, the way I think, the way I am, that were like, you know what, B, you would never make it on the S&Y. You go out there and take off. The shit that they do out there, you just wouldn't make it. Not that I'm trying to be some tough ass dude or nothing. It's nothing like that. It's just, that's not, I can't see myself programming with a child molester. I don't give a shit if he's on the other side of the yard, and I never come into contact with that dude. Just the fact that they're out there, I wasn't okay with that. So anyway, I told you guys that, at some point he was like, you know what, bro, I'm revving to go. He was revving to go. He's ready. He was to the point to where he just wanted to get it done. And, he communicated that to me. He's like, B, I want to wait, bro. I know you got your shit going through the California Supreme Court. I know you're waiting for a ruling before you're ready to do this, but I gotta go now, bro. You know what I mean? I'm ready to get paid. I want to get paid now. So I told him, you know what? Hey, understandable, bro. But me myself, I have to. At that time, my girl, she was still alive, and even though I was getting ready to make a move that would definitely give me a life case, if not the death penalty, I was definitely going to seal the deal. And I had told him, I at least got to, for the sake of at least, man, for the sake of at least having some kind of mental, closure or whatever you want to call it, I got to let this case come back. I got to let the ruling come back, because I'd feel real stupid if the ruling comes back, I beat him, and I had issues. I explained those issues to you guys, and I get convicted on this other case, and this one gets dropped. I'm just going to feel like shit. So he was like, hey, understood, bro. He's like, it's all good. When you're ready, make your way to me, bro. But we knew that once this happened, they were probably going to separate us, and the communication was going to be spotty at best. They keep us separated, and shit was going to happen, and we forecasted all that. So he leaves the tier that night, and the next day is like any other day. I'm in there doing my thing. I worked out that morning, got up, bird bath, doing my legal work, and all of a sudden classification comes up. Well, the COs that work my tier came to my cell, and they're like, hey, class wants to talk to you. And I'm about like, what do they want to talk to me about? And they're like, I don't know. They're calling, they want you to come down there. So any other time, if I would have been on an active tier, or none of this stuff was going on, I would have refused. we don't talk to classification just when they want to pull us out. But because, my classification status was up in the air and they were the ones dealing with it, I wanted to see what they were talking about. So I went downstairs and it wasn't nothing about my classification status. I get into the ODR room and there's like 4 classification officers. There's like 4 of them. I'm thinking maybe they're about to, give me my double red, my top back. And I sit down, and when they start talking, one of them asks a question about this youngster that I ran off the tier. They asked a question about him, and I kind of laughed and said something back to him, and they looked at it as a sick joke. And they're like, that's a pretty sick joke in light of what happened to him. And I'm like, I didn't catch it at the time when they said that. But then the next question after that was, why did you have Boots killed? And I was like, what are you talking about? And they're like, why did you have Joseph Joshua? Why did you have him go over there and kill Joseph Booth? I'm like, you're fucking crazy, man. What are you talking about? Nobody sent nobody to do nothing. And they're like, come on, man. You know what I mean? Why are you acting like you don't know what's going on? I'm like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about, but I don't know what's going on. What the hell are you talking about? So that's when they were like, well, yesterday, apparently, Joshua Joseph was in the cell. These guys got 2 similar names too. So one's named Joseph Joshua, or one of them's named Joshua Joseph. The other one's name is Joseph Booth. So they're like, well, yesterday, Joshua Joseph is in the cell with Booth, and at some point something happens. They call a man down. They respond, they go up there, and there's a dead body in the cell. So I'm like, hey, man, I don't know nothing about that. But you ain't even going to try that on me. You know what I mean? I see where you're going with this, but nah, man, I don't have nothing to do with that. Well, they're like, yeah, well, you know what? We knew you would say that, but, here's the problem. When they went to retrieve the body, there was like 6 people on that tier that had notes, they had kites sticking out of their bars, and every last one of them implicated you. They all said this was Boxer's work. This directive came from Boxer. This dude was sent over here to this tier by Boxer. This is his boy. He came from Little Max, and this was all coordinated. It was all planned. Matter of fact, they took it a step further and said they even had help from classification. Classification helped them orchestrate, the Joshua getting into the cell with this guy, knowing that this guy had an issue with Boxer. This was crazy, but they were actually believing it. They believed that I sent this guy over there to whack this kid, which did not happen. I've been in a lot of, at that point in the county jail, I had been in a lot of different altercations with different individuals. I had been disrespected on other levels that were far more serious, that I took more serious than this incident right here. I had bigger fish to fry. I wasn't going to send somebody over there to whack this youngster because he threatened to gas me. It was bullshit. And I wasn't even going to allow myself to fall into that trap. I told him I didn't have nothing to do with it. You guys can run with this, do what you want, but I didn't know nothing about it. And that was that. This would end up snowballing. It turned into a big thing. The mother of this guy, Booth's mother, actually filed a $20 million lawsuit against Santa Clara County because of this incident. And the newspaper article that came out, it mentions me in there, but it doesn't mention me. It doesn't mention me by name, but it makes a reference to me by high-ranking, I want to say it's Nuestra Familia gang member or former member. And you guys will see that actual article on the thumbnail. The article will be on the thumbnail, and that's what it says. So, you know, now I'm back up in my cell after that interview. I go back up to the cell and I'm like, yeah, these cats are they're trying to reach and make an issue out of this right here. But even though they had these other cats that were over there on this other tier trying to implicate me, they didn't have nothing. That's all they had. These other guys, I guess, when this youngster moved over to the tier, when he got there, he probably said that, where he came from, he's probably like, I was over there in Little Max with such and such. And, you guys got to understand, me being in that county jail, I was a high profile inmate over there. Didn't matter whether it was with the actives or with the DOs. Everybody knew where I was at, wherever they housed me at. So you got to figure these dropouts that were over there on this tier, they hear that I'm over there. And, at some point, I guess he communicated to him that he had an issue with me, that we got into it, and that I threatened, to wipe out his family. He tells him that. So that's the seed that he planted, when he got over there. Now you got the other guy that comes in, and I guess he was in a cell by himself prior to moving in with this youngster. And, when he gets over there, he reaches out to this youngster somehow and tells him, hey, let's sell up. Let's sell up, man. It's all good. And apparently, according to some of these others, because I've seen the reports, they were trying to make a big deal out of it, they were trying to make this really catch. So these other guys claimed that they had told the youngster, don't move this dude in there. This dude just came from over there with Boxer. You move him in the cell, he's going to do something to you. Don't do it. But the move ended up going through. So, Joshua gets in the cell with them. And, according to the way the paperwork, I read not the police reports, but the reports from the county jail. I read all the reports, and basically it said that, at some point, for whatever reason, Joshua killed Boost in the cell. And, I guess he stomped him out. He ended up beasting up on him to the point to where, after he beat him down, according to other statements on the tier, he's beating the youngster to death on the, in the cell. And a couple people on the tier turned up the television. They say they turned it up as a way to mask the noise, so that nobody would hear this youngster screaming. And they heard, what they thought was his head hitting the ground and him saying, it hurts, stop. Well, by the time they came over there, they responded. These guys started yelling, man down. He was dead. They found him, his tongue was halfway bitten off. His head was completely smashed. I would talk to Joshua later, and he told me, he was like, bro, I had all kinds of plans to do all kinds of shit to the body, break the arms, break the legs, try to put them in a bin just for the shock value. It's like I wanted to really, make it a nasty case so that they would give me the death penalty. But he was like, bro, he's like, damn, B. He's like, once I got the body there and the body was there, it was dead, it smelled. He was like, bro, I didn't want to touch it. He was like, I just covered the motherfucker up and somebody else down the tier said that they seen his clothes go by on a line. Somebody else flushed his clothes. And so, they had the whole case. They trumped it up and they tried to run with it. But, as far as it got with me, they couldn't prove it. They couldn't corroborate none of that. It was a good story. And, they had some people that were willing to go to court and testify as to, what they said, but that's all they had. It didn't never make it to as far as it made it to the courts, with me was some of the defense attorneys would later try to say, hey, this dude is he's still got a lot of influence and he's still making moves and he's still having people hurt. And, you guys got blood on your hands now. That's as far as it went, with me. Joshua ended up getting convicted. He ended up getting another life case. Unfortunately for him, it didn't serve its purpose. he didn't get the death penalty. He ended up pleading guilty, on another murder. They ended up giving him 2 LWOPs, and that was it. Now it's going to be interesting. But what happens from this point on with Joshua is very interesting. There's a lot of stuff that happened behind the scenes that I'm going to put you guys up on. It's crazy. People were taking chances and with us, and there was a lot of people that wanted to see us get back on an active tier. That's because that's what we were trying to do. And there was a lot of officers, gang intel officers, regular officers that knew that, hey, those dudes, they don't want to be in Brown. Those dudes are still pushing to be active. So why are you guys keeping them in that situation? They're going to hurt people if they get a chance. You had COs telling them that. And a lot of the COs that even worked that tier with me and Little Max were, I had this one CO that came back there, cool ass CO, popped open my door, walked right up in my cell. It's like, look, man, straight up dude was like, I know your situation. And I know I know that you're trying to get back on an active tier. I understand, what you're up against. It's like, man, I respect, that you're still trying to stand on something that you believe in. He's like, but, you might not get it done here, man. I'll do whatever I can do to help you, but, fight your case, man. Just try to fight your case and don't let these people play you or get you in a situation where it's just going to be worse for you. He was a cool cat. I know he was trying to give me some guidance and try to, actually try to help me. You guys will understand later. He had to retire. He ended up having to retire because, there would be a domino effect from this incident right here. So, now that this incident happened right here, I go back up to my cell after that interview, and I'm there. I'm on the tier, and I'm waiting for these guys to drop the charges on me because they were really trying to give this some life right here. So, meanwhile, Joshua, they ended up putting him back in an observation cell. He's by himself. He stayed there for a couple years. And, I'm in Little Max now. And at that point, all I could continue to do is just concentrate on my case, continue to keep fighting it and, hope that either I get some action with the California Supreme Court or that I get some action in the courts, because my case it was a sloppy case. You guys got to understand though, everybody that I got indicted with, most of them were getting out the way now. Most of them were taking deals. A lot of them were getting deals, even though this was a big case. And everybody thought in the very beginning that, damn, we're all going to get 20, 30, 40 years and they're going to, wash everybody up. At the end of the day, most of my co-defendants, like 90% of them got released on probation, but they stacked them up in strikes. I know I told you guys that before, but it's a cold game, and that's going to end up catching up to a couple of them, because here they were at one point with no strikes. They got no strikes, but they're sitting in the county jail looking at, a nasty looking case with guys like me that had a bad history, just based on the fact that they were wrapped up in a case with a known documented NF member. That right there was it was bad. A lot of people just wanted to get off that case because just my history alone and the things that I've been involved in are gonna, in somehow, some way, have a detrimental or an adverse effect on them and their case. Just the fact that if they decide to go to trial, their jury is going to be my jury, and they're going to hear a lot of the inflammatory evidence and a lot of the stuff that's going to scare the shit out of a jury. They're going to hear it when they're arguing, their role in the case as well. So they're going to end up going down, they're going to end up crashing and burning with me. So 90% of them ended up taking the 3, it was either 3 or 2 strikes. It's crazy that they went for it. You got to understand, these guys are locked up in the county jail. They're locked up for a while, and they obviously, going home, getting out is appealing to somebody that's been locked up. But what they did is they played him. They threw two strikes at him, said, we'll let you go. Who wouldn't jump on that? That's a sweet deal, but they're setting them up for failure. They know these guys, they're going to come back. They're going to get caught up for something, and we're going to have them. The next case they come in on is game over. So a lot of them did too. A lot of them ended up coming back, and they'd end up getting struck out. So that one incident right there, that happened when I was up in Little Max. You know, for the most part, again, you know, I programmed up there on that tier respectfully. I programmed like I did if I was active. I conducted myself like I was still active. I carried myself with respect. You know, I still, in my, you know, I only knew how to do time one way, with you know, carrying myself with respect, you know, following all the policies that I would implement myself. And that's how I did it. That's how I did it. But, you know, a lot of times you got COs that will come to the jail, and for whatever reason, maybe they didn't get none that the night before, or maybe they're having issues at home and they come to work and bring that negativity with them, and they want to come shit on somebody else. I got into it with the COs over there about 4 times, and most of the times it was because of the way that these COs were coming to me. There was one time where I just needed to blow some, you know, I had to get something off my chest. When my girl died, I needed to get something off my chest, and that was one of the only times I went into attack mode myself. And I'll tell you guys a little bit about that. I talked about it in a war story, but all the other times they initiated it. They brought it to me. And when I was in Little Max, I'm just going to tell you guys about an incident that I had up there. So I'm looking at life. I'm up there in Little Max. I'm trying to mind my own business. I don't fuck with nobody. I'm respectful. I'm quiet. So for the most part, most of the COs that worked at county jail, they knew me. They knew my get down. They knew how I did time. I'd been there for some of them, their entire career. You remember, I stayed there for 10 years. So a lot of them, you know, when they'd see me, they knew how I got down. You know, working around me I never made nobody's job harder. I just did my thing. I stayed to myself. Well, every now and then you'll get a new CO that don't know who's who, or they'll come up there with that negativity, and that's what happened. You got a female CO, so she comes up on the tier, and you know, the way my cell was situated was I was right directly in front of the TV. The TV was on a roll cart, and what I would do is this Little Max was kind of like, it was an open tier as far as, you know, the doors weren't solid. There was no glass. You had bars, and then you had mesh over the bars. So it was open. You know, you weren't behind a sealed door. However, what I used to do every day is I would get the phone, because nobody else would use it. If somebody needed it, I just give it up. But what I do is I tell them I needed the phone. So they put the phone in front of my cell, and I do that so that they'd open my tray slot, and I would have a way to reach through with the channel changer and change the channel. I was the channel changer. I was directly right in front of the TV. So this day was no different. I had my tray slot open, and most of the time I wouldn't be on the phone. I just had it there to keep the slot open. And this one day in particular, I'm doing my legal work, and this female officer, she comes in and she's like, hey, I turn over and look at her. She's like, are you using the phone? And I said, yeah. So I turned back to what I was doing, and next thing you know, I hear the phone getting dragged out the tray slot. I had the receiver hanging in. So I turn over and look at her, and I'm like, what are you doing? She says, I'm taking the phone. And I'm like, I told you I was using it. And she was like, I don't see you using it. I'm like, oh, okay, you know, I don't say nothing. I don't cuss her out. I'm not going to fall into that. That's not how I get down anyway. So she takes the phone. I'm like, all right, whatever, man. You know, if that made your day, then that's cool, you know. So she ended up working on the tier for like the next month. They put her up there. I guess they did a rotation, and now she's one of the permanent officers on that tier, which was like, you know, it lightweight stressed me out, because you got a negative officer like that, it does impact your day. You know, when you do time and you're used to doing time, and you know the COs that are assholes, and you know what COs are cool. It's part of the program. You get up to see who's working that shift, and you see if it's somebody that's an asshole. You're like, oh man, it's gonna be a long night tonight. Got this idiot working, or it's like, oh, cool, you know, you got such and such working, man, easy night, you know what I mean? Cool. So she became one of those like, you know, this she's back again, right? So every day she would come to work now trying to get a rise out of me. I think she thought I was somebody to play with, and it became a game to her, you know, a form of entertainment. And you know, for the most part, I tried to ignore it. And what she would do was she wouldn't say nothing to me, but when she would, you know, come in with the box lunches, she would open my tray slot, and I wouldn't even get up. You know, I would just let her. A lot of times I wouldn't get up. Other COs would come. They'd open up my tray slot. They'd leave it on the tray slot and shut the tray slot, and it'd be sitting there. So I didn't want to deal with her. So I see her coming with the box lunch. I go back to doing what I was doing. But what she would end up doing was she pop my slot and she take the box lunch and she slap it on the tray slot. Bam! Lunches. And I look over at her and I just go back to doing what I was doing. Then she slap it and it'd fall on the floor. So, you know, she did that the first time and I was like, man, I'm not trying to go there with you know, with this female officer, man. And you know, she did it again, and it started to bother me. I seen the game she started to play, man, and she did it again. Then she started slapping my dinner trays like that. So finally, I was waiting for her one morning. I was waiting, and you know, I said, you know what? If she comes in and she does that, I'm gonna go ahead and check her, man. I'm gonna check her. I'm gonna let her know that this is where I'm drawing the line. And if she continues to do it, well, you know, I might not be able to touch you the way I want to touch you, but I'm gonna make sure something happens. So she came back there, and sure enough, she ran her little game, right, trying to get her little daily laugh. And I told her, I said, check this out. I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna tell you right now. I can't go out there and I can't fuck with you. You're bringing this shit back here, you know, to myself. You're bringing it right here to me. I'm gonna tell you something. If you continue to play with my food and you continue to carry on with this little game that you keep playing, you're gonna get the kind of reaction that you're not ready for. And trust me, I don't play with piss, I don't throw shit, I don't do nothing like that. But if you continue to play with my food, you're gonna force my hand and you're gonna make me do something I don't want to do, but you're gonna regret it. I'm telling you right now. You know, the ball's in your court. If you want to keep playing with me, go ahead and keep playing with me. So she was like, yeah, whatever, man. And I'm like, okay, you know, so at that point, I threatened her. So she goes out and she tells the sergeant, right? She goes out and she tells the sergeant. Sergeant comes back, female sergeant, cool sergeant. She was somebody that I had never dealt with personally, but I had seen her and she seemed cool. Anyway, she comes in and she's walking the tier, and I go back to my legal work like I'm always doing. I'm sitting there writing, and she's like, hey, can I talk to you? And I'm like, yeah, what's up? And she's like, hey, she goes, you know, so such and such, I talked to officer, and as soon as she said that, I stopped her. I go, look, you know, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm gonna tell you like this. You know, I'm not gonna waste your time. I've been doing time long enough to understand how the game's played. It doesn't matter what I say. That's your colleague, and you're gonna back her play no matter what. I'm an inmate, and I respect that. I get it, but I'm telling you right now. You know, I'm just telling you. I'm fighting a serious case. I'm back here. I'm going through a lot of shit. I got enough on my plate right now than to be playing with some CO that keeps playing with my food. I'm not bringing it to her. I can't go out there, you know, in Third West, you know, and bring this negativity to her. She's bringing it in here to me, and I've been letting it go. But I'm telling you right now, it's starting to get to the point where it's starting to agitate me. It's starting to get to me, and I'm not trying to threaten your officer, but I'm telling you now, and I'm dead ass serious about this. If she keeps playing with my food, she's gonna get a reaction that she's not ready for. You know what I mean? I'm just telling you. And she was like, you know what? First of all, you're wrong. I don't operate like that. I'm fair. You know, if I see a CO that's fucking with somebody, I'm gonna fucking check that CO because I don't believe in that shit. You guys got enough to worry about. You know, you're locked up. Like you said, you got enough going on in your life. Then, you know, for some of these COs, I'm a sergeant for a reason. I know how they play games. So I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna talk to her and I'm gonna tell her if she continues to do that shit, that I'm gonna put her somewhere where she doesn't want to be. But at the same time, I'm asking you, let it go. And I'm like, man, you know, I've let it go. Trust me, I would rather not deal with her on any level. I don't got time to mess around with her. That's not what I'm doing. But hey, I hear you. I appreciate it. You know, I respectfully, I appreciate it. And that was it. She went out there and she did check her. She went out there and she must have, me myself at that time, I was like, yeah, she might have said something, but I don't think it was in the context of, you know what, you better leave that inmate alone or else. It might have been like, come on, leave him alone. He's a little bit different than some of these other cats, and he's a little bit more, high profile, and just let him do his shit. Just back up off him. Whatever the case was, she came back in, and I knew that I was smart enough to know that no matter what she told her, I knew that she was going to come back there and probably do it one more time, just as a way of saying, like, can't nobody check me and I'm still going to do what I want to do. But after that, she would probably stop. And that's what happened. She came in there. She did it like, she didn't do it like she was doing, but she did it with just enough emphasis to let me know that she was doing it. And I was like, whatever, man. I continued on with my legal work. And from that point on, she fucking backed up. She ended up backing up. She left me alone and she was out of there. Like, they did another bump and moved her anyway. So, these are the only incidents I really had in Little Max. They ended up moving another dropout in there for a minute. I ended up getting into it with that cat just because I wasn't feeling being around individuals like that. Again, I wasn't embracing, my classification status at that time. But there was nothing I could do about it. If the doors popped or if I got action at touching somebody, that's what I was going to do. But at that point, all I could do is just go back to doing what I was doing. Just mind my own business, stay in my lane, keep to myself, fight my case, wait for the California Supreme Court to come back with something. And that was it. So, I'm back there in Little Max, I want to say about a good 16, 17 months. I'm back there, and I'm gonna end this in a minute. This episode on this note. So I'm back there, and even though I'm back there, I still hear who hits the jail. When somebody ends up coming to the jail. I knew at one point they actually well, I tell you that actually happened later, so I'm not gonna get into that. But I would hear things even in Little Max. COs would come up there, and they're the ones that pass most of the gossip. CO came back there and said, "Hey, such and such did this, or such and such came in." And so one day I'm back there, and the CO comes in and is like, "Hey, you got another NF member that just came in. They just put him in South Max. His name's Miramontes. His name's Miramontes." So I was like, "Miramontes, that's Dancing Bear." So he's like, "Yeah, he's over there in South Max." So South Max was right across the hall from me. Outside the door, there was a door to Little Max that was a solid door. But on the other side of that door, you had South Max and North Max. So he was on one of those tiers. And I knew he was there the day he came in, but I had no way of reaching out to him. So I continued to just do my thing. I want to say it was like a day or two later that I know he's in the jail now, so I had never seen Dancing Bear at that point. But I'm back there, they're running showers, and the door pops open, and in comes this little short, stubby, fat dude with long hair, looking like Weird Al Yankovic, or he just looked like Beetlejuice. That's what he looked like, Beetlejuice. So he walks by, he's got a towel around his neck. That right there was a telltale sign to me. just the way he came in, scanning the tier, I kind of had a feeling it was Dancing Bear. And, the CO brought him in, put him in the shower, uncuffed him, and then the CO walked off the tier, locked the door. And as soon as the CO locked the door, I hear him say, "Hey, Box, is that you?" And I was like, "Who's that?" And he's like, "This is Dancing Bear, bro." She's like, "It's DB." And I'm like, "What's up, Dancing Bear?" And he's like, "Hey, man, what the fuck happened, bro?" He's like, what's going on, bro? Why they got you back here? And I know he's on the tier with some homies over there. There's like 7 homies on that tier. So I know he had to have heard something, but he asked me. He's like, "What happened, bro?" He's like, I just came down from the Bay. I was up there next door to Chuco. He's like, I'm back on an appeal. He's like, "Fuck, we had no idea you were going through any of this, bro. They don't even know up there right now in the Bay." And I'm like, "Man, bro, hey, homie, look, man, there's other people on this tier. I don't want to really talk about it. Like, what I'm going to do, if it's okay with you, is I'm going to send you all my paperwork. I'm going to get it over there to you. I'm going to have somebody walk it over there to you. I'm going to send you every police report, everything that I got pertaining to my case. And then I'm going to send you a one-time, a kana." And I knew he probably knew his Nawa, so Akana is a Wheeler. So he's like, "Okay." He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I'll check it out." I'm like, "Hey, bro, it's some bullshit, DB. I don't belong back here. When you get my paperwork and you read it, you'll understand what I'm talking about." I'm like, "Bro, this is fucked up. I've been fighting this situation I've been in, but I got people pushing back. I got cats on the 4th floor hating, openly telling these people that I belong where I'm at. I'm in a bind right now, bro. I'm like in a serious quandary, bro. I need you to check this out and throw me a lifeline, bro." And he's like, "Hey, B, you know what? I'm gonna tell you like this, bro. I'm gonna go through everything. When I get it, I'll read everything, and I'll give you an honest opinion. I'm not gonna blow no smoke up your ass. I'll tell you exactly, what it is. And if I can help you, I'll do everything I can do to help you. I got an open line to Chuco, and don't trip. We'll if there's room for salvage, then I'm gonna get at Chuco, bro, and we'll take care of it." He's like, "But B, all I ask is that you just don't make me regret it." I remember he said that, and that resonated with me for a long time. And I'll tell you guys why later. But I was like, "Nah, bro. Hey, I want to get up out of here. I want to get out of here. I want to get put back on an active tier. Hey, if I got an issue coming, so be it. But I'm not okay with being back here, bro. I've done nothing wrong, but you'll understand. Just you'll understand. I'm gonna get at you, bro." So he was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Cool." So trust and believe that I struck up a long ass kite, and I told him like everything, every detail, everything that was involved, step by step, play by play. Every time these cops came up here and tried to, every time they tried to talk to me, from what happened from the minute I got arrested, everything from the time they raided Little Max, I didn't leave nothing out. I gave them everything, every piece of police report, every piece of paper, every transcribe, everything. I gave it all to them. Sent them a box, literally a box of paperwork. And from that point on, he's over there reading. He's got it for like a week. So this is a good time right here to cut this short because, again, when you come back to the next one, I want you guys to really understand, what he found, what he didn't find, what was conveyed, what we did from that point on. And, I'm going to give it to you guys exactly how, it happened. But anyways, I at least wanted to get this episode out to you guys. I wanted to get it out. I know some of you were waiting. So again, I will get the 3rd part of the Mexican Mafia video out tomorrow. And, I want to say one more time, I appreciate you guys for all the support you gave me. For those of you that tapped into the video, for those of you that, gave me a lot of good positive feedback, even those of you that, made those fat jokes. For those of you that don't know, let me just put you up on some game. If you didn't catch my live tonight, I laugh with most of you. When you guys made all the fat jokes, this guy's got a fat suit on, this guy weighs 400 pounds, Mr. Kingpin, this. I was laughing. You guys were killing me. But understand, this video was taken a while back. And even though I was laughing at it, at some point it wasn't funny, because if you guys knew the reason why I was like that, it was, the reason why, I was swollen like that, I was bloated, was because I was on hepatitis C medication. And I don't tell you guys everything. I don't tell you, all the medication I take or my health issues, but, I had hep C. It was something I contracted back in 93. And for a long time, I'd done nothing about it, because I heard that the medication, it was, a lot of homies used to get sick on it, and I kept putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. Well, it got to the point where, like, everybody from the time I got, I contracted it, they were dying. So I knew that it was probably having an effect on my liver, and I got to the point where I was like, you know what, I need to do something about it. So I finally opted to take the medication. It's a 90-day cycle, but while I was taking it, it bloated me real bad. It made me like, I kept on retaining water, to the point where I had to take water pills to get all the water. Matter of fact, when I went to go take that interview, I actually was gonna reschedule it, because the condition I was in, I was so bad that I could barely like get out of a car, man. I wasn't that big, that much justice. I was never 400 pounds. And obviously I don't look like that now, but it just had me bloated. So it's funny, but then again, it's not funny. The thing about it though is I went through that 90 days. I took the whole cycle, and I'm cured now. I don't have it no more. After 33 years, I finally got rid of it. And I was lucky. It didn't really damage my liver, that bad. So yeah, it's funny. The Kingpin, the 400-pound guy, the neck to the head ratio seems off and all that other stuff. You guys are some ruthless cats, man. Luckily, I got, thick skin, and I can take it. It's okay. I'll be the center of your humor, but, at the end of the day, hepatitis C is a serious thing. And, I'm glad to finally say that I finally got rid of it, and I'm now hep C free. So it's funny, but it ain't funny. Anyways, like I said, I'm gonna get this video out tonight. Tomorrow, I'll get the Mexican Mafia video out, try to get you guys some chapters. We're gonna keep continuing to push the content. Please continue to drop your comments. It helps with the algorithm. Continue to hit the like. Those things help us. You know what I mean? I appreciate you guys. And again, thank you for helping us get to 40,000. It's been a long process, but we continue to slug it out. Hopefully we'll get to 50 soon. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I'll be back in a couple days with another live. With that said, this your boy B, and I'm out.